It is a bitter irony that in a year where much of the world was trapped inside, there were few major studio movies to keep us somewhat distracted during long months of quarantine. The coronavirus pandemic halted the release and production of most films throughout 2020, delaying filming and release dates. Right now, the 2021 movie release schedule looks to bring a very welcoming surge of big titles back to the theaters, with releases from Wes Anderson, Steven Spielberg, Marvel, and James Bond. 2021 could be a massive year in movies. Let's just keep our masks on and our fingers crossed that we can get back to the theaters. Welcome back to FilmShack. Today, we prepared for you the 10 best movies to look out for in 2021. Number 10. Mission Impossible 7. Tom Cruise is having a great 2021, and it hasn't even started. He will return to play one of his most iconic characters in the 7th installment of the spy franchise. Ethan Hunt is expected to top some of his most insane stunts. Always worth noting, Cruise does most of his own stunts, as he faces off against a notoriously dangerous character played by Haley Atwell. And don't worry that this will be the final film. It is the 7th installment of the Mission Impossible film series, and the 3rd film in the series to be directed by McQuarrie, following Rogue Nation and Fallout. The cast includes Cruise, Ving Rhames, Henry Czerny, Simon Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson, Vanessa Kirby, and Angela Bassett, all of whom reprised their roles from the previous films, alongside Haley Atwell, Pom Klementieff, Shea Wiggum, and Desai Morales, who will join the franchise. Mission Impossible 7 is scheduled to be released on November 19, 2021 by Paramount Pictures. A direct sequel, also directed by McQuarrie, will be released on November 4, 2022. Number 9. Spider-Man 3. Just as Spider-Man Far From Home was hitting theaters worldwide, Marvel Studios and Sony Pictures were locked in contentious negotiations regarding the extension of their partnership on future Spider-Man films. Briefly, Sony still holds the license to Spider-Man, but starting with Spider-Man Homecoming brought Marvel Studios and its president Kevin Feige on board to serve as the lead creative producer to help steer the direction of that film, a reboot, and subsequently its sequel, given how well Homecoming performed. In summer 2019, talks between both sides broke down over how to proceed. Disney wanted a bigger cut of the box office in exchange for paying for some of the production, while Sony wanted to keep the status quo. But in September, the two sides came to an agreement on at least one more Spider-Man movie starring Holland, who will also appear in one more unnamed MCU film. Far From Home writers Chris McKenna and Eric Somers are reportedly returning to pen the screenplay, and Homecoming and Far From Home helmer John Watts is back in the director's chair. Number 8. Candyman.
Candyman, 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 Candyman.
After success with Get Out and Us, Jordan Peele is back at it again with another horror film, directed by Nia DaCosta. This sequel to 1992's Candyman is set in the same Chicago neighborhood as the first film. Visual artist Anthony McCoy and his art gallery director girlfriend move into the neighborhood, now heavily gentrified. When his career stalls, McCoy gets a chance encounter with an old-timer from the neighborhood and becomes exposed to the Candyman, bringing him back years after he first terrorized the community. The film stars Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Teyonah Parris, Nathan Stewart Jarrett, and Coleman Domingo, along with Tony Todd and Vanessa Estelle Williams reprising their roles from the original film. Candyman was originally scheduled to be released in the United States in 2020, but following a few release delays due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it has been delayed to August 27, 2021. Number 7. Top Gun Maverick.
Your reputation precedes you.
I have to admit, I wasn't expecting an invitation back.
They're called orders, Maverick.
It's been 34 years since Tom Cruise was in the cockpit, but don't think that slowed him down. Maverick is just as confident as ever, testing the limits of physics and authority. But two major developments will shake him up a bit: a dangerous Top Gun mission and the arrival of his late best friend Goose's son. The film stars Tom Cruise, Miles Teller, Jennifer Connelly, John Hamm, Glenn Powell, Lewis Pullman, Ed Harris, and Val Kilmer. Cruise and Kilmer reprised their roles from the first film. Top Gun Maverick is scheduled to be theatrically released in the United States on July 2, 2021 by Paramount Pictures. It was originally scheduled for release on July 12, 2019, but was postponed to allow the production to work out all the complex flight sequences. It was then delayed further due to the COVID-19 pandemic and scheduling conflicts. Number 6. The Suicide Squad.
Welcome, Task Force X. These are your brothers and sisters for the next few days.
David Ayer definitely isn't coming back to direct this sequel, and Warner Bros. Looked at some intriguing names for his replacement. Mel Gibson was approached towards the end of 2016, but Warner Bros. Eventually moved on and offered the movie to Juan Sierra of The Shallows and Non-Stop fame to take the helm, only to see him pass. Gavin O'Connor, the accountant, was subsequently set to direct, but when his take came out similar to the plot of the Birds of Prey movie, which was going into production first, he became frustrated and moved on. Subsequently, Warner Bros. Trapped former Guardians of the Galaxy filmmaker James Gunn to write a script from scratch and potentially direct. Indeed, months later, it was announced that Gunn will very much be directing this film, which is titled The Suicide Squad and is rumored to be more of a reboot than a sequel. It's unclear exactly how many of the original cast members from the first film will return. Will Smith has already confirmed he's out, but Margot Robbie, Jai Courtney, Viola Davis, and Joel Kinnaman are expected to return, and Idris Elba is signed on to play a new character. Additionally, David Dastmalchian is Polka Dot Man, Daniela Melchior is Ratcatcher, John Cena is Peacekeeper, and Steve Agee is voicing Shark King, and Nathan Fillion and Takai Waititi are playing undisclosed roles. Filming began in September 2019 and wrapped in February 2020. Gunn has said that despite the COVID-19 shutdown, the film's release date is on track. Number 5. Black Widow.
I made mistakes. And a lot of enemies.
Although the Avengers tragically lost Black Widow in Avengers Endgame, her first standalone film takes us back in time, following Natasha Romanoff, Scarlett Johansson, who returns home after the events of Captain America: Civil War, only to deal with the familial fallout she left behind. Florence Pugh and David Harbour make their debuts in the Marvel Universe as well. Development of a Black Widow film began in April 2004 by Lionsgate, with David Hayter attached to write and direct. The project did not move forward, and the film rights to the character reverted to Marvel Studios by June 2006. Johansson was cast in the role for several MCU films, beginning with Iron Man 2 in 2010. Marvel and Johansson expressed interest in a solo film several times over the following years, before Schaefer and Shortland were hired in 2018. Benson joined in early 2019, with Pearson added later. Filming took place from May to October in Norway, Budapest, Morocco, Pinewood Studios in the United Kingdom, and in Atlanta and Macomb, Georgia. Black Widow is scheduled to be released in the United States on May 7, 2021, as the first film in Phase 4 of the MCU. Number 4. Morbius.
I should have died years ago. Why am I still here if not to fix this?
Because the Joker wasn't enough, Jared Leto is joining the Marvel Universe too. Leto will play Michael Morbius, the biochemist who makes a grave error mid-experiment, accidentally injecting himself with blood and giving himself a form of vampirism. If the films go in the direction of the comics, expect to see Leto face off with Tom Holland's Spider-Man soon enough. After announcing plans for a new shared universe of films inspired by Spider-Man characters, beginning with Venom in 2018, Sony began developing one based on Morbius. Sazama and Sharpless had written a script by November 2017, with Markham and Holloway joining later. Leto and Espinosa officially joined in June 2018. Work began in earnest at the end of the year with further casting, ahead of a production start in February 2019 in London. Filming was confirmed to have been completed by June 2019. Morbius is scheduled to be released in the United States on March 19, 2021, delayed from an initial July 2020 date. Number 3. The Batman.
You're becoming quite a celebrity.
This one has been a long time coming. Warner Bros. Finally got Ben Affleck to agree to direct and star in a Batman standalone called The Batman in 2015, with Affleck having penned the script with Jeff Johns. However, Affleck subsequently stepped down from the director's chair, opting instead just to star in this standalone, while Warner Bros. Set Dawn of the Planet of the Apes filmmaker Matt Reeves to take the helm instead, after over 2 years of rumors as to whether Affleck would or would not star. Warner Bros. Has finally confirmed that he'll be moving aside and making way for a new Caped Crusader. Reeves' take is described as noir-tinged and will star Robert Pattinson as a younger Batman/Bruce Wayne than Affleck's iteration. Pattinson beat out Nicholas Hoult for the role, with Zoe Kravitz subsequently cast as Catwoman and Jeffrey Wright cast as Commissioner Gordon. Jonah Hill was in talks to play the Riddler, but when those talks broke down, Paul Dano was cast as the iconic villain instead. Colin Farrell subsequently signed on to play the Penguin. The film will also be honing in on the detective aspect of the Batman comics that hasn't fully been explored in the films, and began filming in early 2020 in London. Greg Fraser, Rogue One, will be the cinematographer, and Michael Giacchino, War of the Planet of the Apes, will compose the score. The film was originally scheduled to be released on July 25, 2021, but was pushed due to the COVID-19 shutdown. Number 2. Fast and Furious 9.
Your whole life, you pushed yourself to be faster than Dom, smarter than Dom, stronger than Dom.
The Fast and the Furious franchise has stunningly morphed from a series about street racers into a group of near superheroes saving the world. With 9 films under its belt, this installment will follow Dominic and his family facing off with Dominic's brother, Jacob, a deadly assassin working for their old enemy. We also saw Han make a reappearance in the trailer, which is big news for longtime fans. It is the first film in the series since Fast and Furious 6, 2013, to be directed by Lin, and the first since Too Fast, Too Furious, 2003, not to be written by Chris Morgan. The film will star Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Tyrese Gibson, Chris Ludacris Bridges, John Cena, Jordana Brewster, Natalie Emanuel, Sung Kang, Helen Mirren, and Charlize Theron. F9 was scheduled for release in May 2020, but was postponed worldwide twice due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and is now scheduled for release on May 28, 2021. Number 1. No Time to Die. The wait for this one has been ridiculous. The last Daniel Craig Bond film had a number of stalls in its process, including some physical injuries, but April, maybe, is when the 25th Bond installment should come out. This one, which features Lashana Lynch as 007, a substantial dose of Madeleine Swan, and a Billie Eilish-voiced theme song, promises an explosive end to Craig's incredible tenure as Bond. Development began in 2016. No Time to Die will be the first Bond film distributed by Universal Pictures, which acquired the international distribution rights following the expiration of Sony Pictures' contract after the release of Spectre in 2015. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer subsidiary United Artists Releasing holds the rights for North America, including worldwide digital and television rights, and Universal will also release the film on physical home media worldwide. No Time to Die was scheduled for release in April 2020, but was postponed worldwide twice due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and is now scheduled for release on April 2, 2021. We would like to invite you to share your opinion with us. Do you agree with our list? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications bell. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye!